Harvey Levin was on with Sean last night, and just to set up the soundbite, remember a few days ago he said they received the ransom letter. We learned on Sean's show last night it came in the form of an email, and they're not apparently able to trace that email. Here he is on Sean's show talking about what that ransom letter said more specifically.
We received what looked like a ransom letter, and so we called the sheriff's department in Pima, and they took the information. There was something in that letter that caught my eye at the end where they mentioned both, now I can say it because the FBI said it, an Apple Watch and a damaged floodlight. What I found interesting, because we knew she wore an Apple Watch, there are pictures of her with Savannah with that watch, but they mentioned where the watch was, the placement of the watch in the house. And that's not something that was out there. And a couple hours later, the FBI called, and they wanted a lot of information. So when I said there are two deadlines, yes, there is one that changes the demand, and that's the one that, that has already passed. And the one on Monday is far more consequential. We're not sure that this is really written by the person who has Nancy. But I will say the letter begins by saying she is safe but scared. And they go on to say she knows exactly what the demand is. The Sheriff's Department gave the family the letter we received, exactly what they're demanding, and they're saying that Nancy is aware of it. They're saying that this will be their only communication. And they are done communicating, negotiating, here's the deal, and that's it. And, you know, as the clock ticks, I think that's one of the reasons the FBI and other authorities have, you know, gotten desperate here, because as far as we can tell, it's impossible to trace the origin of this email.
But he went on to say a lot of things. He also said that, you know, we believe this person is from the Tucson area because they seem to know the local TV market, which is a CBS affiliate. We thought, Savannah Guthrie, think NBC, why wouldn't they contact NBC? But if that person's from that area, that's what the local market is.
Well, that includes TMZ as well. Remember, TMZ is on the local markets as well. It's on Fox, on the local Fox. So all of these channels that they sent the letter to were the local affiliates. The other thing that he talks about is that he feels like this guy, and he believes this guy, is very intelligent. He says he's crazy, obviously, for kidnapping, but he also thinks that the guy had no grammatical mistakes or anything. So it talks about the mind of this person, Ainsley.
Yeah, and then when Savannah's brother, Cameron, released the other video on Instagram, he's pleading with his mother's captor for proof of life, and he says, we haven't heard anything directly, meaning we didn't receive a ransom letter. That went to the media. So clearly whoever is doing this wants this out, wants the media attention. The doorbell camera, even though it has been reported there's no video available, they didn't have an active paid subscription, but we do know the Ring doorbell was knocked off. Someone took it with them, maybe just wondering whether or not it was recording. But we also are hearing that the tech company ran out of ways to recover the doorbell video. The camera disconnected at 1:47 a.m. Maybe that means it was taken off the wall. But the software company detected movement at 2:12. The tech company's exhausted all ways to recover any video from the device, but multiple cameras located in the home, they say. Investigators are not sure which camera detected the movement.
Yeah, they said, just to talk about what you were saying, Lawrence, they said the letter was layered. He said it was a layered letter that really lays things out. Yeah. They made a substantial demand in terms of Bitcoin money, I guess. They said, you know, if there was an English teacher that was looking at the structure and the grammar of everything, I think they would have no notes. In other words, the person might be evil, but that person is not, or the people are not dumb.
Let's break that down with former FBI supervisory agent James Gagliano. He also oversaw the crisis in the hostage negotiator unit in New York City and was the former acting legal attaché in Mexico City, where he oversaw kidnappings of American citizens south of the border. James, it's good to see you, my friend. Let's talk about where Brian left off, about the mind of this person. James, I find this to be the most compelling piece of evidence thus far.
Yeah, I think so, LJ, and thanks for having me, guys. This case becomes more baffling and beguiling by the day. And I think to your guys' point, messaging has got to be sharpened and tightened here.
Right.
I applaud the Pima County Sheriff for suggesting we're not going to give any more press conferences if there's nothing new to be released, nothing that can be helped by crowdsourcing. Look, kidnappings happen for one of two reasons. It's either for profit or it's for revenge. And I saw these south of the border and certainly in the United States. The FBI has been doing this a long time. 1932, the Lindbergh baby kidnapping. 1963, Frank Sinatra Jr., another celebrity. And in the 70s, Patty Hearst. This one does not meet muster with any of the traditional type of kidnappings. Why? We still don't know if this was a targeted attack, if this was a targeted abduction. And I think, again, we've got to just be careful on the law enforcement side, have a singular message, and don't flood the zone.
James, what about the ransom that came in the form of an email? Is there no way to track where that email address originated? Did it come from a library computer? Did it come from a computer in a guy's mom's basement? We can't track that at all. And also, what would you advise the family to do? Should they pay the ransom to that Bitcoin address, hoping that it produces, brings back their mom?
Ainsley, I'll take those questions in reverse. First of all, the FBI and law enforcement are only in an advisory capacity here. You cannot tell a family you must do this or you cannot do that. It's an advisory capacity. We give them the best practices on how to deal with this. We've got lots of experience. We all want a good outcome here. I think there's a lot of digital exhaust, a lot of digital evidence out there that they're grinding through. And to your point about the computer, the email, the fact that these captors didn't reach out directly to the family, but did it through TMZ, did it through local news outlets, it's just very strange. And I'll close with this. The fact that they have multiple deadlines. Right. Normally, when captors put out multiple deadlines, there's a negative consequence if law enforcement or the family doesn't meet the first one. The family has been pleading for the captors to reach out to them and directly negotiate with them. And sadly, that has not happened as of yet.
So what about this news from Guthrie's neighbor, Brett McIntyre, told the New York Post that he reported seeing an unmarked van to the police, who asked him basic questions about what he observed and what he saw. He said it was somewhere on the street. It was a white van, full size, with no printing on the side. It was parked on the street before she disappeared. Where would you go with that?
Look, no leads, no evidence. Even somebody thinks, hey, this doesn't really matter. It's that old, if you see something, say something. And Brian, I'll say this as a former mayor, a recovering politician, the law of unintended consequences. One of the things that's hindered this investigation my view of this is like the Dark Skies Initiative. You want those beautiful, no light pollution out there. You can watch the southwestern skies at night. The problem is the other Ring doorbells, the other digital exhausts that might have been picked up on video, they have not been able to harvest anything of use. Also, the fact that in Arizona, you don't have to have two license plates on your vehicles. What if you only got video of the vehicle from the front to the rear, wherever the license plate wasn't? Look, there's a ton of evidence here. And yet, even in the 21st century, with all the modern technology we have, the police are still talking about putting out billboards to crowdsource this.
But James, what did you think of the technology? And I don't want to repeat it because I don't want people to use it for nefarious purposes, but the FBI has the capability of extracting data. That device was seen as they were going into the sister's home. What does that tell you?
Yeah, Lawrence, that's a piece of it, right? We follow the evidence bereft of fear or favor, and any lead that needs to be chased down. But most importantly, in today's day and age, 21st century technology, the fact that we're all tied to our cell phones. In this instance, she had a pacemaker that was attached to that. But this stuff can still be defeated. Case in point, the Ring doorbell that was removed by the people or person that was either inside the house before she got there or somehow followed her in. And Lawrence, you're talking about what's called a CAS team, a cellular analysis survey team. They are the best of the best. And if they can't dig anything out of this, this is just, I said, one of the most beguiling and baffling kidnapping cases I've seen in a long time.
It's just so sad. It's sad because they're telling, for many reasons, but they're telling in the ransom note, we're not going to communicate with you anymore. And then the family is saying, we need proof of life. We can't just give you millions of dollars and not know if our mom is safe.
Yeah, 100% Ainsley. And again, I don't want to take shots from the comfort of my own home and say that law enforcement should be doing this or not doing this. They clearly have more information than we do. They're releasing information as they see fit. But look, I don't understand why they released a crime scene so soon.
Yes.
Why did they turn that back over to the family? And then you have to go back and re-secure it to do some sweeps again afterwards. There was still dry blood on the porch. I just think that that might have been an error, an unforced error, that they should have kept the crime scene pristine and clean and continued to work it.
Yeah.
Look, here's the other dangerous thing.
Yeah.
The border is 60 miles away. And, you know, with that 12-hour, 10-hour gap that LJ and Brian just walked us through, that is a long period of time. These people, the person or people who did this, they could have been a long way away before anybody had been alerted at church the next morning that Mrs. Guthrie was missing.
The DNA seemed to be her blood, but if there's a struggle to release blood, could there be a hair on the ground or anything else that the perpetrator left behind? So that's the case. Thanks so much.
Thanks, James.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.